my new neighbors. It's been 2 weeks since the noises began. Every time the clock strikes 1:05 in the witching hour, like clockwork, the stomping comes to life. The ceiling has cracked from the constant and rhythmic beating of the stomping above my head. Now, I've spoken to the landlord already, and he promised that he would go up there and try to talk some sense into my neighbors. Some pair of hippies with dreadlocks and weird as fuck tattoos all over their bodies. They moved in 2 months ago. The husband, although dressed as if in some kind of cult, seemed like a chill guy the last time we crossed paths in front of our mailboxes. The wife? Honestly, all I know about her is limited to what I've heard the other neighbors say. From my humble understanding, both wife and husband lead a yoga studio of some kind somewhere downtown. And they're people of few words. Well, things started to go downhill a month ago. While it didn't happen so frequently, I would see the husband either exiting the apartment or taking out the trash. And, well, I stopped seeing him after that night. I was washing the dishes when I noticed that my pipes had become very clogged. The plumber I called said that the issue was coming from upstairs and that our pipes were connected to their pipes. Oh, it was one of those old apartments where one of those few things that hadn't been renovated back in the day, and due to some legal issues with one or the other tenants at the time, they just never changed it. Well, anyway, the plumber managed to unclog it, though he warned that it would possibly happen again if I didn't do something about it. And not to mention about that foul odor that was coming from the drains. And I contacted my landlord, and we figured out the best course of action was for me to inform my new neighbors about the issues with the pipes and to politely ask them not to drain cooking oils or other kinds of stuff like that could get these old rusty pipes clogged up again. And working a 9 to 5 job the entire week, the only free time I had was Saturday afternoon. My sister had thrown a birthday party for my niece that day, and I went over to her house. In the early hours, I went over there to help her with all these birthday preparations. I got back home around 7 p.m. and as soon as I opened the front door, the stench, oh my God, it hit my nose like a baseball bat. Honestly, I had forgotten all about those clogged pipe issues, but when I twisted the tap and I saw the water rise in the sink, I totally lost it. I waited like 4 whole minutes for them to open the door after I knocked. I didn't notice it at the time, but the guy in the apartment kept looking over his shoulder as I told him what had happened. He was very apologetic, and he promised that he would speak to his wife about the clogged pipes. And as he was about to close the door, I heard something, and I tried to look behind him, but he shut it closed right before I could. It sounded muffled, like someone was trying to speak underwater. Save it didn't sound much like a speech. How do I call it? Like, how do you think someone sounds when their mouth is maybe taped closed and was trying to get my attention? Something like that. Anyway, the pipe issues stopped after that. There was still no sight of either the husband or the wife for several weeks. I had just been promoted at work and would be able to move out to a nicer neighborhood by the end of the year. And to celebrate my upgrade, I went out with my friends and boyfriend to a bar. We were having a great time, and I ended up spending the night over at my boyfriend's apartment. I couldn't recall how our conversation ended up in this direction, but as we cuddled in bed, he told me something that I failed to notice myself. That entire night, he said, quote, "A weird guy was watching you," end quote. And when I asked him what he meant by weird, he said that he had dirty blonde dreadlocks, dark makeup under his eyes, and tattoos all over his neck. But that wasn't even the scariest part. My boyfriend noticed that the hippie guy was hiding something under his sweatshirt. Well, that's why he asked me to come home with him that night. I should have told my boyfriend that I knew that guy, but I still don't understand why I didn't just tell him. And to say that I was afraid, but that's how far the weirdness got. Nothing else happened for weeks. I figured my neighbor must have seen me outside the bar, but was too shy to approach and say hello. And it wouldn't be the first time something like that happened. I mean, while I wouldn't consider myself an attractive person, well, I had a look that drew people in more if they saw me. And naturally, my boyfriend stayed over a few times after this incident, in case I was stalked by some weirdo, but it didn't last for long. He had to be out of town for work the next 2 months due to some infrastructure project he was taking part in another state. His team was responsible for the production of a 3D layout over a subway station for commuters between several states in the South, and he didn't exactly give me a return date, but said that the job should be done in no more than 2 months, since they'd already had some work done already. But, well, that's when the stomping began. I woke up to it the first time after a long day at work, and I was just too tired to bother going upstairs. Maybe I was just too freaked out and I didn't want to, and it doesn't matter. And then it kept repeating over the course of 2 weeks. I would sometimes doze off at work and hear those damn noises in my head. Failing to write my reports on time, my boss even asked if something was bothering me nowadays. But it wasn't like I could tell him about those noises. I was going to lose my job at this rate, and my dream to move out was going down the drain. That's why I decided to speak to my landlord and put an end to this. The next thing I know is the news of my landlord passing. I can't prove anything, but I just know that his untimely death had something to do with my neighbors. As I'm writing these words, I'm only sure of one thing. I need to keep a low profile and make it through another month. I can't stay here anymore. Sleep doesn't come to me. I've stayed awake for far too many nights, and I can't tell whether it's day or night. The stomping never ceases. My wish, my only wish, is that my boyfriend was here. so that, well, oh, the door just cracked open. Someone's coming. Maybe it's Matt. He's the only one with the spare key. It has to be him. It has to be. It seems like the stalking has stopped. Oh, how convenient. I'll go take a look to see who's out there.